Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. It is 12:31 p.m. California time here. The live stream is back up and running, by the way. Went down suspiciously about 3 o'clock in the morning. It's been pretty steady here, but looks like something's going on with it again. But it's okay. We got it up and running. Thanks for the folks there that let me know. Latest activity shows a 1.3 across the California area, it looks like. Did see some further, somewhat larger movement up around the Mount Rainier area this morning. Had a 2.3 earthquake coming in about 7 o'clock this morning here across the summit area of Mount Rainier. 40 earthquakes here, a little bit of an uptick here in the last 24 hours. That brings up the total tally here locally to 661. That's what the USGS is showing here. But if you were to check out the PNSN network here, let me go back just one more. There we go. They have a total tally of 648. I thought I read something a little bit higher than that, but maybe I'm looking into the future. I do see this thing continuing here far as the elevated and ongoing earthquake swarm. This is the last number of hours out here, not covering the last 24 because we're not quite to the UTC time here. In a few hours this will be full, but as you can see, there's still quite a bit of earthquake activity out here ramping up, and definitely looks a little bit more active today, including that 2.3 here. They have this marked as a 2.5 near Mount Rainier. There's really been no 2.5s around the area of Mount Rainier, so I'm thinking they're counting that 2.3 here that struck this morning, and that would match the time frame that did show up there on the seismograph station. So interesting activity, definitely stirring things up out here. That 2.3 a little bit more shallower because these negative depths there accommodate for the height of the volcano, and at least one peak up here is 14,411 feet. So these readings here are going to be at sea level. So therefore, the negative aspect here of things, when it shows negative depth, negative 1.2, that means it's a mile, 1.2 miles above sea level, but still below the summit area, obviously, because there's, thousands and thousands of feet there that raise it up above the sea level. At 2.3, though, that would actually be deeper. Yeah, that would be a deeper quake there, because if that's for negative 1.2, yes. So that would, I know it seems a little confusing here with the negative, but this is accounting for the height of the mountain. This here is at sea level, 0.2, not 2 miles, but 0.2. So that would mean that it's actually a deeper quake in the area. So there's been a couple of those quakes this morning that are somewhat deeper than the swarming that we've seen here recently. So I'm just kind of watching that. They say that it's the magma chamber down there is only about 30% molten, but I'm sure they have all the equipment, and they use all sorts of fancy equipment there to come up with that number. But definitely got some interesting activity there. I'm going to watch that because that's getting some deeper movement. And by the way, that marks it as the this earthquake this morning on 2.3 is the second largest earthquake. The first one was a 2.4 back on the 11th here a few days ago. But this has just been an ongoing deal. It is it is spread out a little ways here. Main focus was right there across the summit area, but we're starting to get some movement now to the west and to the north, a little bit up here to the northeast as well. Here's the latest swarm of activity away from this center region. So let's check out the satellite view here and show you guys the summit. Oh, it's just cluttered with quakes. Let me see if I can get rid of some of those just real quick here. Yeah, so there's the caldera area, I guess, if you would call it, up there. But this earthquake activity is occurring more on this side. Interesting. So let's go let's go back. I really wish we had more seismic or GPS stations out here that would monitor that side, because the one over here, this is about the closest one I can get running far as the GPS stations go. And that doesn't show anything in terms of uptick or uplift, no type of inflation whatsoever. This is very minor movement at best here. These are meters, right? 0, and then it goes to 0.005 meters. So that is barely a fraction of anything when it comes to any type of uplift there across the southeastern edge of that volcano. But over here, where we're getting all that earthquake activity, I really, really wish we had some type of GPS station out here in this area, but I don't see it. At least not one listed on this map. Let me check out this other one here. Sometimes these have a couple different ways to check the GPS up here, but so there's one back over here, but I think this is the one that's offline. See, darn it, it is offline. I want to know why that's making a westward movement here over this region. So a little interesting. I'm going to probably message someone about that, why potentially we're seeing that westward migration down here to the southwest. They really haven't put out any new updates. They put a halt to their daily updating out here when it comes to for public information. That was put out yesterday, so I don't think they did anything today. And they said they'll continue this. They'll continue an updated information status if things warranted, if it's warranted, obviously, if we see a major increase in movement or some type of uplift. But yeah, I really haven't seen anything new out here. This still shows the earthquake activity here. Although I don't know if it's accounting for the today's time period here. Well, it does say 7:15, but that's at 16:10, probably UTC time. And that's a few hours old there. So we'll just kind of watch this, folks. I did just, wanted to make note of that. A little bit of interesting migration there. Away from the summit area, well, away from the peak area, off to the west here, west-southwest, but also to the north, and some newer movement here to the northeast. So this is spreading out, not anything far. It's still within about a mile and a mile and a half coverage there in terms of, not below this area, but in coverage. So interesting activity. I did manage to pull up a seismograph station here in that area. So this will be on the live stream. That's going to be this station right here. I may see if I can bring up a different type of station. This is BHZ station called, it's KAUTZ. I'm guessing that's COTS, or I don't know how to pronounce that correctly. feel free to help me out here. But it's a heli-based station there, Creek. That is up at very close to the summit area. So any earthquake activity that is showing up or happening there across Mount Rainier should show up on this seismograph station. And of course, I brought the Japan station back up. So when the stream went down like 3 o'clock in the morning, I had no clue about it. So I just went ahead and reset everything once I did find out. Updated all my drivers, did a quick reset of the IP, just in case that's how they're getting through. But we should be good now here for the live stream. But anyway, yeah, a lot of earthquake activity. We got a total tally here of 653 earthquakes, and all began back on the 8th. So, number of days out here. There's definitely an unprecedented swarm out here. Completely beats a 2009 swarm. So we'll continue to watch that. Again, I wish we had some GPS stations out there. I may inquire about that, see if there's got to be more than just one working GPS station out there around the volcano. It just doesn't seem right. Northern California here still rocking and rolling as well, including another 3-pointer this morning back here across the southern end of the Gorda Plate. That's been pretty busy out here recently. Look at all these earthquakes here in the last 30 days across this region. Obviously, it's a major area, seismic activity. 80 earthquakes. Goodness. Of those 80, 30 of them were above 2.5. We even had I think we had a 4-pointer out there. Maybe we didn't. A couple threes out there. But still, pretty busy out here. It's a triple point boundary and very dynamic region when it comes to the southern end here of the Cascadia megathrust region. I think that is under quite a bit of strain there. But we'll see what happens. Is that another earthquake up there? Or is that the older one? Is that 11:47? So that's just about an hour ago. The rest of Washington pretty quiet, but I tell you what, Mount Rainier there getting interesting. You know, they say it's hydrothermal fluids, and it looks like it on the seismograph stations there. But the earthquakes are getting somewhat deeper, and they're spreading out a little bit. Bay Area pretty quiet. Creeping section of the San Andreas Fault here. A couple smaller earthquakes. Nothing big. We did have a 2.6 down here north of the Garlock Fault shear zone into the Tehachapi Mountains. A 2.6 just about an hour or so ago. Now another earthquake here across the Garlock Fault shear zone. That's a major player in accumulating stress here along the plate boundary. Of course, the San Andreas Fault here, you know, been under a lot of stress here recently. And a lot of time has passed out here. I've covered this a lot here, and we could be living in a time here where this could be in the near future. I don't see it holding off much longer. I'd be surprised if it does. 2.4 Loma Linda area. So we do have a number of 2s out there today. Not a whole bunch above 2.5. Just looks like the Tehachapi earthquake and one near Fillmore. That was at 2.5 this morning, north of Los Angeles. Los Angeles, pretty quiet right now. Not a whole lot going on specifically on the San Andreas Fault. Just a couple areas of interest there along the northern end of the San Jacinto Fault zone, and also a pair of earthquakes off the San Andreas Fault here towards the Joshua Tree National Park. Nevada, somewhat busy out there, but I don't see anything major going on. Up into Yellowstone National Park, nothing showing up there, but I do want to double check that, see what we have here. And it's pretty quiet. I don't see a whole lot of earthquake activity. These darker blue lines there are either wind or some type of outside interference, such as thunderstorms. They do get the thunderstorms brewing up out there in the summertime in the afternoon. But not a whole lot going on, and this is obviously a malfunction. One earthquake up in Kansas has been a little busy up there in this area of Kansas for some reason. Look at this. Not too often do we see 15 earthquakes here in a 30-day period across this area of Kansas. There was a 3.4 back in June. Now a 3-pointer this morning. I don't think there's any oil fields out here. I don't see anything listed out here in this area of Kansas, but definitely got some interesting activity because it does sit outside of any known hazard zones in terms of earthquake activity. But there are, there's quite a bit of hills and stuff up there in the Kansas area, mainly across the eastern area. But keep an eye on this area. It's outside of Hayes there to the northwest. Got some interesting movement out there. Oil fields down in Texas still, active. Nothing new with that. Same for Oklahoma. New Madrid seismic zone over here. One earthquake this morning, a little 2.1 across that New Madrid seismic zone. Starting to show a little bit more activity here in the last few days. Got 8 recorded earthquakes here. As I mentioned, the last week. Nothing big yet, but that's another area that is capable of producing some big earthquakes. Let's see, pretty active. Well, let's see if we got any newer activity out here. I know a lot of this here is from yesterday. We do have a number of earthquakes still in the Japan area, kind of bouncing back and 4th here between the Japan Trench and just off the Nankai Trough here. One earthquake of a 5.2 magnitude this morning within that swarming zone, but that's just what the USGS is showing. So let's go check out the Japan Meteorological Agency here. See if we got any major swarm going on. Well, this is today's date, up till noon. This is going to be my time here. So last earthquake was a 3.3. I don't think that showed up there on the seismograph stations, but I don't see any major increase here. You know, we get a couple earthquakes here every hour, maybe every other hour. There's a number of 4s in there still. 4.8, 4.6, 4.4. You know, USGS showing that one 5-pointer from last night, right? Is it from last night, or let's see here. Actually, that shows this morning for a 5.2 at around 10 o'clock. So USGS reporting that as a 5.2. These guys reporting it as a 4.6. Interesting. Nonetheless, though, we got, you know, some earthquake activity still kicking up there across this area of Japan. Keep an eye there on the Nankai Trough, and as I noted, this area down south here as well. It's kind of right in the middle of these two regions that are capable of producing some big earthquakes. But also, I do have my eye over here on the Izu Trench. So, in general, this area has been active like crazy here recently. So, just got to be on guard. Let's see what else we got. There's an earthquake this morning in Taiwan. So the pressure is on out here, all across this area. Just no major uptick yet. Still pretty quiet out here across Papua New Guinea eastward. That's been a little quiet here recently, as I keep noting on every update. I'm waiting for this to fill in here. I think we've only seen 1 or 2 earthquakes in the last week in this area, so it will eventually, I think, fill in. Let's see, New Zealand. Yeah, we got a little bit of movement creeping up here along the plate boundary. Couple 3s. Watch the Alpine Fault here. It's been active all around it. Some deeper movement up north. There's a 5.7 up there along the Kermadec Trench. That looks like that's from last night, though. Or early this morning, excuse me, 5.7. Pretty shallow adjustment there. Up in Alaska, just a handful of earthquakes up there. Nothing major going on. Some interesting activity roughly at the top of the globe there, 5.8. That would be, where would that be? North of Greenland? Greenland, it looks like it. That's a decent sized earthquake up there. I don't recall last time we've seen anything of that magnitude way up north like that, but looking at the historical data, obviously along the plate boundary there's going to be more chances of large earthquakes. Excuse me. Never fails. And my coffee's all gone. So, but it does look like there's been a handful of earthquakes, at least maybe around the 4 range in this area. But like I say, that's probably one of the larger events I've seen out there. So definitely got some interesting adjustment going on here in the last couple days. You know, with all this earthquake movement across the Pacific, things are definitely on the move. Iceland pretty quiet for now. The rest of the Atlantic down here pretty quiet. Not seeing a whole lot of movement here, but I do expect maybe with this newer movement up north here to see that start to work its way south. It tends to go in that general fashion. All right, let's see a little breakout there across the Middle America Trench, and for the Guatemala area, South America the same. A little bit quieter out here. Notice the red rings. That's from yesterday. Not a huge cluster. A big cluster, obviously, across Japan. That's where the primary focus is today. A lot of pressurization going on, and also, of course, down here across New Zealand. A little bit of migrational movement here across the Java Trench. That could potentially work its way up. Some older movement out there in the Indian Ocean. The rest of the area here of the Mediterranean, Middle East, just some older activity it looks like. Nothing big happening out there today for now. See, there's a little reading on the Mount Rainier seismograph station right there, just in the last few minutes. Wonder if they're covering that. I don't see it. That leads me to believe that maybe we're seeing more earthquake activity than what's being reported out there. But then again, they're having issues locating, where each earthquake is occurring. They've even said it and mentioned it themselves. So we'll probably see that pop up here from time to time, as far as earthquakes showing up and not being reported. Let's go ahead and check out space weather activity here real quick. As I mentioned last night, I think we're going to go down here in terms of any flaring activity. Maybe made it down into the upper B flare category last night, but it's smoothing out, so to speak, here. That's a sign that the sunspots are starting to either die out or just stabilize here. Quick glance here at the magnetogram image of the sunspots. Yeah, this one here is just completely separated. This one's fading off into the wind, the solar wind, so to speak. I really don't see anything of any noteworthy value out here. I guess maybe this area back here. It does have a little bit of close proximity there of the magnetic structure. That's going to be 4139. So we'll see what happens. Still got a 50% chance here for some M flare activity. X flare at 5. I'm keeping mine at 1 because I really don't see any X flare probability. There's a coronal hole that's still somewhat facing us, but the high-speed solar wind stream from this coronal hole, mainly south there of the Earth-Sun plane. Looks like we did get a G1 class storm last night. KP index up around 5. Since then, it has died off. So let's go check out any close approach asteroids out here from the NASA website. Look at that one, 280-foot building size asteroid. Good thing that's got a few numbers and a couple commas in there. That's what we want. That's a ways out there, but that's a pretty big one. All of these are millions of miles away, so really not too concerned with anything out here. A lot of airplane size asteroids there. As far as the Storm Prediction Center goes for severe weather, got up there around Yellowstone again, so we'll probably see the noise out there in the seismograph stations show up again once the storms fire up. But it just always happens like that. Slight risk even in enhanced zone across Nebraska. Looks like some tornado potential out there. Main threat today is going to be, looks like some wind. Got some damaging wind gusts out there across Nebraska there. So just a heads up. That's in the hatched area as well. So we're talking about 65 knots or greater within 25 miles of a point. To 10%. That's 30% here. That's pretty decent. All right, so let's check in on the hurricane status out here. Right now, do we have anything on this? It doesn't look like it, but let's see. There's supposed to be something developing down here maybe, but it's hard to say. It's just really disorganized. Right there, you're starting to see a little bit of a circulation there, but I don't think it's going to make it even in the tropical storm status. But let's see what these guys are forecasting right now. That's disturbance number 1. Should it become into some type of cyclone formation, it will be called Dexter, which is interesting here. But it looks fairly low at a 40% chance there, and that goes for the next 48 hours and 7 days. So we'll have to watch that. But it's making a kind of a westward movement here over Florida into the Gulf towards Louisiana. All right, let's see what else we have here, folks. Just a real quick look. Yeah, these seismic, I don't know what's going on with these, but they go offline for some reason, then they come back. And anyway, the thing is, at least they come up and stay on for a little bit so we can see what's going on there. But, yeah, I don't know why it does that. Intermittent data loss there. All right, we'll catch you guys out here a little bit later, folks. Again, live stream is up and running. Watch Japan kicking up out there today. You know, it's just got a lot of movement going on out here, so we'll kind of keep an eye on this throughout the day today. Have yourself a wonderful afternoon. Stay cool. It's supposed to be a little bit cooler out here in my neck of the woods. If you call 98 degrees cool, it's a lot better than the 105, so I guess. I just want it back in the 80s or below. I'm a cold weather type of guy. I do better in the cold. I function a lot better in the cold. Some people not so much. They love the sunshine and, 100 degrees. Not me. We'll see you guys out here a little bit later on, folks. Take care. Stay safe out there. And I believe the bells are on. I'll double check that here.